2026 is going to be an awesome year. We got some pretty cool stuff coming up. First off, we got Foundations of Recovery. This is our flagship program. We're starting it in January.
This is for anyone, man, woman, or couple who wants to come and reclaim their heart from shame, trauma, and betrayal. We start off with an education on all sorts of principles, give you the common language. We feed you from a fire hose in terms of all things recovery.
It is such a great start to recovery. And we get at the roots of things, Tyler. This isn't like any other program. Like, this is our healing journey in process, and Foundations is where we begin.
If you look at the value that you're getting there to kick off a good recovery with all of the right education, all of the right language, and a team to get you started while also being directed by Brannon and myself through the whole process, what a deal.
So if you're interested, if you're struggling, if you've been wanting to do something for a long time, jump into this. This only comes around every so often, and we would love to have you there.
Click the link in the description to sign up for it. And to make it even sweeter, we're also including a raffle for a free pass to the Radiant Dawn retreat. Anyone who signs up for Foundations will be added to the raffle for that free Radiant Dawn pass. If you're a man and you sign up for Foundations, your name still gets entered, and you can give that pass away if you win it to any woman that you want to.
So what you're saying, Tyler, is if you sign up and participate in Foundations, you could possibly go to Radiant Dawn for free?
That's exactly what I'm saying, which is crazy because Foundations by itself is already an insane value.
Man, I sound so salesy. But it actually is awesome. So come to Foundations. And even if you don't come to Foundations, sign up for Radiant Dawn. It's beyond therapy, the best healing experiences that you can have.
Click the link below and come join us.
Where am I at in the stages of change?
Welcome to the Therapy Brothers podcast.
I'm Brannon.
I'm Tyler.
We're brothers.
We're therapists.
And we know recovery.
Bring your stories, your questions, your successes with real recovery.
Hey, Tyler, you ready to have some hard conversations?
Let's do it.
Let the Therapy Brothers podcast begin.
Brannon, what's going on, man?
Oh, I'm banged up.
What happened?
I'm getting old. Dude, you got the glasses on and the gray beard. You look geriatric.
I got glasses, gray beard, and 2 fake hips now, and I do feel geriatric, actually.
I was going to say, you look it. I look it too, but I also feel it. I went mountain biking, and like the next day I could hardly move my shoulder. So,
oh geez, man,
I'll work it out. Throw a little ice on. Throw a little ice on it.
Throw some ice on it, and eventually probably have to have surgery or something.
Yeah. Probably that. Oh well, it's where we're at in life.
Yeah, no kidding, man. It's a hard place to accept that, especially when you don't think you're that old. But whatever.
Yeah.
Well, we kind of did this challenge a while back for the Rising Sun retreat with some reviews. We've gotten several reviews, so I want to read one today, if that's all right, Brandon. And then we'll jump into our topic.
Please.
Here.
Yes.
Yeah. So this one comes from, the name was Giant Homer. So go figure. This one's probably going to be a good one.
I love the name.
It says, and the title of it is, Where do Brannon's philosophies on recovery and sexuality come from? And it says, I'm so grateful for this podcast. I was with a therapist for 4 years and just felt so bad about my involvement with pornography. As I listened to this podcast, I felt peace and hope as I recognized that I, as an individual, do not need to be shamed to recover. As an individual, I want to and need to be true to my God and myself.
Yeah, I love it.
Great review. Really appreciate that.
Yep. Shaming yourself into recovery is a complete and total oxymoron that never works. It's like trying to fight fire with fire. So
yeah, it just adds to the problem, even though it's a normal part of the process to have that shame. The goal really in recovery is to become shame resilient. So still accountable, still taking ownership. That's what I loved about the review there, is he shifted from needing to change because of shame to wanting to change because that's who he is.
Well,
So,
and in that episode about my story, you can kind of see it on a macro level, the ways we were trained, Tyler,
yeah.
with like fear and control and force and rejecting your sexuality, and that many therapists, I think less so now, but still quite a few today, use fear and control and shame in order to try to change a behavior rather than actually treat somebody to help them love themselves and be a transparent, honest, vulnerable human being that can create connection in their life. So
Yeah.
I love the shift in philosophy because that actually works. Once you let go of that shame, once you let go of that fear, then real recovery can begin. So
Absolutely. And that's kind of the direction that both of us have sort of grown into as we've been doing this work for so long. So
yeah. So speaking of recovery, we're talking about change today, Tyler.
yeah, we're talking about the stages of change.
I just think about how many times have I like been like, hey, like I'm going to eat good tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I'm going to enjoy some like really bad food for me today because
tomorrow's when I start.
I'm going to start.
Yeah.
And in perpetually being in that cycle over and over and over again. And, the stages of change, if you understand them, they're really cool because they apply to everything in life. Whatever you want to shift or change in your life, you're in some stage with that. And I think when you understand the stages of change, then you can get more conscious with where you're at in that process. So whether it's recovery, whether it's shifting dynamics in your marriage, whether it's getting in shape, your spirituality, I could go on and on, right, Tyler?
Right.
But you're in some stage of change, and we're going to break down these stages of change for you. And as we do this, I hope that you reflect on your life and you see, and you're honest with yourself, like, that's where I'm at. Like that's kind of where I'm at when I'm thinking of this topic or this thing that I want to shift or change. I can see that that's where I am in this process.
Yeah, and I think with kind of where we want to go with this today, Brannon, we'll outline the different stages of change. This comes from a theorist named Prohaska or Prochaska, and there's 5 different stages of change. Some people have added a 6th one. We'll cover that one too. We're going to go through the stages of change. We're going to go through some things to do if you recognize what stage of change you're dealing with, whether it's in yourself or in somebody that you love or a partner or something like that. But I want to make sure that we're clear that none of these are bad. These are all parts of the change process for most of us over whatever it is that, there's a pretty good chance that you and I, Brannon, are in different stages of change over different parts of our life right now. And that's just part of the process sometimes.
Yeah. Again, back to not shaming yourself, right? Like as we go through this and you're like, man, I should be in maintenance or I should be in action or whatever. As we go through this, don't shoot on yourself and shame yourself. But hopefully as you listen, you're able to say, but I do want to shift out of that.
Yeah, it's just being curious. We're going to challenge all of our listeners here to be curious with what stages of change they might be in certain parts of their lives, not just with maybe acting out with an addiction. Of course, that's what we're going to talk about a little bit because that's what we do a lot, but it could be over anything. It could be relationally or spiritually or something else too.
But Tyler, I think you're coming a little too soft and tender here because the fact of the matter is if you're in certain stages of change, it's going to yield results that you don't want.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And yeah, it's not bad, but it sucks to get the results that you don't want. And it sucks to stay stuck in suffering. And some of these stages of change absolutely keep you stuck in that suffering.
Right. There's one of my favorite quotes lately has been that there are no solutions. There are only trade-offs. And some of these stages, you don't even you refuse to even see the trade-offs, which then means you just get the worst things possible.
Yeah. Yeah. The consequences come.
You stay in denial over the actual consequences, even though they're producing themselves over and over again.
Yeah. So so speaking of the stages of change, let's get into it. Speaking of denial and
So when we're looking at people changing, this is something, Brannon, I don't know how you deal with it in your practice, but when I'm doing a first session with a couple or an individual and they're going through telling me their story, I actually have this kind of in the background of where am I starting as a therapist for the problem that they're bringing to the table?
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So because if I know where I'm starting as a therapist, then I know that there's certain things that I'm probably going to have to maybe engage in or do that I otherwise might not do.
When you say knowing where I start, that what you're saying is accordance to where they're at in this process of change.
Which stage of change is this particular client at right now?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So the first one is called pre-contemplation.
Mm-hmm.
And the pre-contemplation stage of change is where you have a problem that might even be a glaring problem for everybody else, but you don't even know that you've got a problem. It goes along with this kind of like psychological term called the double curse of incompetency, which is that the people who are the least competent usually think they're the most competent.
So in other words, it's straight denial.
Denial.
I really like that. I really like that word or term, pre-contemplation. You're not even contemplating change. Because you don't see that there's anything to change. And so although there might be a mess all around you and what you're creating and doing, you don't want to change. And your relationships can be falling apart. This happens with addiction a lot, Tyler.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times someone with an addiction will stay in pre-contemplation for way too long and just stay there and stay there and stay there as everything around them starts falling apart, as everything starts getting destroyed. And they're like, me, problem with alcohol? Huh? Like, what?
Yeah.
And they're drunk every night, or whatever it is. We did an episode recently and, the wife was talking about how her husband's using porn all the time and this and that. And how he's like, what? I'm not the problem.
It's not a problem.
Yeah.
I'm just losing my marriage and I can't concentrate at work. But that doesn't have to do anything with porn.
Yeah.
Right. Like my porn use, my daily multiple times a day porn use.
Right.
Yeah. So pre-contemplation, it's not even that I don't want to change. It's that I don't even know that I need to change.
What? Tyler,
I haven't even connected the dots yet between the consequences in my life and the behaviors or the inputs that I'm putting into my life. It truly is. It might be willful denial, but a lot of times it's actually just ignorance. It's just, I don't even know that I've got a problem yet.
Right. And who, if you have somebody like that come and sit on your couch in your office, Tyler, what's that therapy session like?
Well, yeah, it's often, it's funny because a lot of times this happens where I've got like a couple in there and I've got one partner saying, man, I'm about ready to leave. I can't even handle this anymore. And the other person's like, I didn't even know there was a problem. Like, what's going on? Or it's like
then they'll gaslight or turn the tables a lot because they're like, what's wrong with me?
Right. Like nothing wrong with me here. Yeah. You should probably go get some therapy for, whatever it is. They tell their wife that a lot, go see a therapist. You must have some problems. Right. So when I'm in a therapy session with somebody like that, I'm going, okay, the first thing that I need to do is actually maybe just do some kind of motivational kind of interviewing or some curious questioning, trying to bring into the room and try to help start to connect the dots. What are the inputs that you're doing and what are some of the outcomes that you're actually getting in your life that maybe you don't like?
Yeah.
And, they start to say, oh, I feel depressed all the time, or I feel like this, what's going on in your relationships? Oh, my partner doesn't want to talk to me right now. Oh, okay. Why do you think that is?
Just a little side note. If you understand motivational interviewing at all, and you go to therapy and your therapist is doing it on you, just face the fact you're probably in some denial. I love motivational interviewing because it gives you that tool with that client that you feel like you can get nowhere. And that's where you just back up, you reflective listen, and you illustrate the discrepancy between their behaviors and what they want in their life.
Yeah, you act as a mirror.
You let them come to the realization like, oh, maybe drinking all day isn't what I want. Oh, really? Oh, okay. Tell me more.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, Tyler, I think of the county funded programs we both have worked at where people are just, and I'm not saying everybody was pre-contemplative, but many were, F the system. I shouldn't be here. This isn't my fault. And I had one guy I worked with, he had 13 DUIs, 13, so he had been to prison because of DUIs and it's still pre-contemplative, still like, what? Huh? I got a problem.
I don't have a problem. Yeah.
The denial can persist through a lot of things. And what needs to shift in order for somebody to actually move to contemplation?
The beginning of some insight is where you actually start to connect those dots between, oh, these are the outcomes I'm getting in my life. And I can start to take a little bit of ownership for at least seeing that my inputs might be partially responsible for that.
Yeah.
And that's the next stage of change, Brannon, is contemplation. So you move from pre-contemplation, I don't even know I got a problem. I don't even have a problem, to, oh, maybe I've got a problem. And
yeah, what sucks about that, Tyler, what you just said?
Yeah.
A lot of times what you're basically talking about is pain.
Yeah.
Is like the pain piles up enough where finally someone's like, whoa, like maybe I should change.
It's like, oh, I didn't even realize, or, oh, maybe I did underneath the surface know, but I've been running from it and hiding from it for too long. But now
I just got the divorce papers. I just had my first heart attack. I just had whatever it is now. Okay. Like
I can't run from this anymore. Like it's too apparent now. There is something there. And that's where people start to maybe even consider changing, because oftentimes it's the pain point that's too big. Right.
Yep.
I used to do this treatment in drug court for the juvenile program that we ran in the drug courts. It was called the 7 Challenges. And I actually really liked that treatment program. It was similar to motivational interviewing. It had some of that in it, but it would take these adolescents who a lot of times did not have any insight into their problems about their drug use. I had one kid who ended up taking way too many of his parents' sleeping pills, so much so that he had blacked out, walked like 4 miles away from his house, and climbed into bed with another woman.
Oh, God.
He walked into somebody's house, climbed into a bed with another woman, and
that'll get you a legal charge.
Yeah, and then he ended up in juvenile drug court. Shocker! And he was sitting there in my office, going like, "I don't have a problem. Like I don't have any problems with any substances." And what the 7 Challenges said was, don't fight with them on it. Say, okay, let's do a whole bunch of research together on all of the pros and cons of overusing sleeping pills or using marijuana. And in fact, I want you to come and I want you to write a report both ways. You're going to have a debate with yourself about all of these substances. And they start doing these reports, and we start doing this research, and we start having this conversation. And the therapist's role in that is like, I'm not even going to tell you what to do. By the time we're all said and done, you'll have so much information, you can make a really informed choice.
Right. Uh-huh.
Yeah. And so then all of a sudden he's like, well, I still don't think it's a problem. And it's like, okay, but you also know that if you do these things, you now get to agree that you'll probably spend some time in juvenile detention. You'll spend some time in drug court. You may end up with other charges if you get caught driving while you're doing it. And you're going to have these other consequences in your relationships. And you're probably going to be numbing yourself out and feeling a little bit more depressed, all of that stuff. As long as you're willing to sign up for all of that, go for it. Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you're trying to move that teenager from pre-contemplation to contemplation. So then now they just go, oh, okay, I have to own my choices now. And then the contemplation is where you start to think about it and go, okay, maybe I got a problem.
Yeah,
I got
right.
a problem.
Right. Well, contemplation can be very, you can really get stuck there too. And it's an uncomfortable place to be stuck because it's, okay, I know I have a problem. I just don't want to do what it takes to actually change the problem that I have. So I'm conscious of the problem, but I'm not going to do anything about it. And so it can produce a lot of shame. It can produce a lot of self-loathing, depression in that state of contemplation. The pre-contemplation almost feels better than the contemplation. Right?
Yeah, it's hard because in contemplation, you watch yourself continue to hurt yourself.
Right.
You know?
I think of a guy I know who had a dead end job, hated his job, always complained about his job, and didn't change it.
Yeah.
Just kept going to that job day in and day out and didn't change it. And you'd ask him and he'd make all these excuses. Well, I can't because of this, or I can't because of that, and this and that. And so it's like, okay, you're full of excuses. You know, you have a dead end job. You want to change it, but you're not changing it. You're stuck. You're just,
Yeah. I have a feeling, Brannon, that you're talking about me and my experience with UPS.
No, I wasn't.
Thanks for that.
I was thinking of someone else, but actually, I was totally thinking of someone else. But now that you say that,
you're saying I spent about 20 years in contemplation.
20 years and two, new hips later. Yeah, and this happens with a lot with things like weight loss, physical health, even things like starting businesses and putting yourself out there. Like, hey, man, I know God's calling me to this thing. I know I would feel more in my purpose if I did that, but I'm scared, or I'm too poor, or I can't because of this or that or whatever. And we fall right back into the rut that we're in and just hope that one day we'll change and hope one day we'll get different outcomes. So contemplation is more honest than pre-contemplation, but can be very uncomfortable.
It's finally got some honesty and accountability without any action.
Yeah.
That's what contemplation is.
Yep.
The third stage, as we move through this, and we'll bounce back and forth between these stages a lot of times, is, and especially between contemplation and this next one and the third and the fourth one. Yeah, and the next one is called preparation.
Mm-hmm.
And preparation is where we know we've got a problem. We know we need to take action on it. We're not quite ready yet. It's like Brannon, when we were kids, remember we were going to like the swimming pool or the place where they had those platforms, and you'd see all the big kids go all the way to the top platform, and you'd be like, I want to do that. And you'd climb up the first time and be like, never mind, I don't want to. And you climb back down, and then you finally stand on the edge, and then there's a big line piling up behind you, and then you chicken out and get back down. And you're like, oh man, this is like preparation. So, preparation is a really good place where another form of denial comes in, where you can justify all sorts of other expenditures to get ready for the change, even though you never make the change.
It's those perpetual self-help readers and podcast listeners. And we love our podcast listeners, but it's like, man, I'm listening to stuff that I know is true. And I'm reading all the books that are telling me what to do and how to live a better life and this and that. But I get a shot of dopamine when I just read the book
and
when I just listen to the podcast and think about the change. But to actually go put the money down, or to actually go run a mile, or to actually, whatever it is, that's like not happening. And so preparation can be awesome because you're moving out of that contemplative state. So I think
when the preparation phase is prime for like most of America is the week between Christmas and New Year's, when everybody buys brand new workout clothes and gets a gym membership, and
everyone's preparing for the big change in their life. that lasts
Yep.
2 weeks.
That then either doesn't take any action at all, or the action lasts for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But preparation is good, Tyler. So
yeah, it's necessary.
I think of, me and my wife are running a lot more, and a year ago I couldn't run a mile, and I wouldn't. I was just whatever. Last night I ran 12 miles, and I'm not saying this to brag, but to make the point of preparation. I don't think I'd be moving along this process without that stage of preparation, because we got a book that was awesome. And then we got a running schedule that's on our bathroom mirror. And it's like, I can see exactly what I'm doing and why I'm doing what I'm doing. And that was the preparation stage. We were putting that together before we started diving into this process together. And yeah, we could have put that up on our mirror. We could have read that book and never gone out and run like that, and fallen right back into contemplation. Or you can step into the next stage, which is action.
And you needed that preparation phase, Brannon, because you wouldn't have gone from contemplation to action without doing some of that preparation.
Preparation's awesome. It's awesome, fact, but you can get stuck there.
Yeah. In fact, at a certain time, the preparation work you were doing was actually the action, to go get the book, to read the book, to do stuff.
It crosses over. It becomes both.
It was moving you towards the bigger action, which is I want to train for a marathon, right?
Right.
So it is a necessary step. It's like the foot in the door movement towards, it's like that kid on the platform that has to go up there 3 or 4 times before finally they go, well, it's time. It's now or never. Like we're going,
Right.
So yes. Yeah. And then that next stage is action. Like you said, Brannon, explain action.
Action is it's simply that, action. It's movement of energy. And it's stepping into the pain of what needs to be stepped in order for the change to happen. It can feel really liberating and good. It can feel terrifying and just scary. But it's moving. It's actually doing. So, it's that person who's like, well, I'm going to start actually having boundaries with my mom or whatever it is. Like, and then they read all the boundaries books and they do this and they did for years and years and years. They don't do it. Action is actually looking your mom in the eye and say, Mom, that doesn't work for me.
Yeah. Here's something got to change here.
Yeah. Or it's taking that first run, that first half mile that you run, or joining that recovery meeting and actually going, like just going. And action is awesome, but it doesn't actually create the change usually.
It takes time for the action to produce the habit of the change.
Yeah. When we talk about stages of change, maintenance is after action. So a lot of times what will happen is we'll go through preparation, we'll step into action, action's uncomfortable, and we'll jump to contemplation. Because it's like, this feels overwhelming. Oh, that meeting was so weird with all those weirdos there, and I didn't want to sit there with them, and I didn't want to work the steps and do my work. So I don't.
This is hard.
I'm
not
going
weird.
Back.
It's different. Yeah.
Or that therapist really pushed me and made me look at things that were true,
but they were painful.
Painful. I'm never going back to therapy. So, okay, you took action, and then you retreat back out of self-preservation or avoidance of pain.
Yeah.
So good for you to get to that action stage. I
think what there was a statistic that they showed us when I worked for drug courts again that said that people who actually really work on becoming sober from their drug and alcohol problem will give about 14 concerted efforts before they finally find some traction and actually get themselves sober. And I think it's a testimony to what you're saying here, where it's like, I know I got a problem. I'm going to get ready. I'm going to try really hard. And then I get overwhelmed, or it doesn't stick. And usually, they give times for these. Sometimes the action phase is like 3 to 6 months. And they're saying if you can sustain the new changes for 3 to 6 months, you'll start to move into the next stages. But it's hard. Like change is hard, and to have a different consequence because of the awkwardness of something new is so uncomfortable and overwhelming that we tend to want to shrink away from that after a period of time. And some things that you can do when you're in the action phase to kind of help that stick, and as you're prepping in the preparation phase, is to build into your life to go along with the action, social support,
Structure,
your own structure, your own accountability, to try to really work hard on the idea of the growth mindset instead of the fixed mindset, that this is going to be a process, and to see it as a process. That kind of work and that kind of support actually helps with the process of action and is more likely to push you into that next step of maintenance.
Yep. That's it. So, and we all do this where we'll go take action and then we'll retreat and we'll be like, I don't know, that's hard, like, and you talk about that week between Christmas and New Year's. Then there's that week between the first week of January where everybody's like, they got up and went to the gym twice that week. Yeah. Action. Awesome. And then it's like, dang, that was early. And
yeah, that's hard.
I don't want to go back. I don't, so that's good still that you took action.
Right.
And maybe you need to do that 10 times before you finally
necessary step.
Start to stick in to that actual consistency. That, Tyler, if I can get a little weird here, I know we're running low on time, but if you look at all of this as energy and frequency, we vibrate at certain levels, and the vibration, these energy frequencies are just going, right? And in order to change the vibration, usually it's not a one-time event that will shift that vibration. And so what will happen is you'll take action and you do something different, and it's uncomfortable to change the vibration. And so you go back and you fall right back into the same rut or the same frequency that you were resonating at, right?
Yes. Yep.
Because that's where you're comfortable and that's what's automatic. It's already there, and you're going to keep resonating in that frequency. And so to actually change, you have to, over time, hold a different frequency until it shifts. And that consistency is key to actual change. I've never seen someone recover from sex addiction in a week.
No,
never seen it. And so that consistency is critical to change. And I don't think we focus enough when we talk about recovery and change and getting different outcomes in your life on the day in and day out, waking up with your habit and just doing this thing again and again and again and again and again, until all of a sudden it's like, wow, I have a new life. Like, things are different for me. And that's what maintenance is.
Yeah. Maintenance is that fifth, kind of stage of change, which is now, I like what you just said, Brannon, that action could be seen as the use of your willpower towards a new frequency.
Yes.
And maintenance is, I'm finally resonating at the new frequency, and it doesn't take a lot of my willpower because the habits have been established. So
that's a good way to put it.
The movement from action is use of willpower to maintenance is now this is a habit. So willpower is a finite resource that we use to change one step at a time. Habit is the thing that takes no willpower because it's just something that I've naturally grown into and that I do.
It's who I am and what I do.
Yeah. And any change that we make in our life, and this is why it's important to maybe try to change very few things at a time, because you need to use that resource of willpower until the new habit's established. But once it's there, it's the brain likes to utilize its resources elsewhere once you've got habits. And so habit can either be, I love the greatest salesman in the world that says, one of the quotes in there, one of the scrolls is, I will form good habits and become their slave. And what that really means is, eventually my system can work in progress the same way that it's worked in hurting me in the past if I train myself into good habits. And
that right. There's a life hack if I've ever heard one.
Yeah. Right. Right. Yeah. And I think
we are creatures of habit, so use that to our benefit.
And we can do that. and and then there's a last step some people sometimes throw in, which is called relapse, which is where all of a sudden something happens or shifts in my life, and maybe I let go of a habit that I had formed, and then all of a sudden I've got to kind of start back in the preparation action phases again. And this has happened to me just recently with I decided to stop drinking soda several years ago, and I went like 6 years without a soda. It took a long time. It took me like 6 months to get clean from drinking soda. And just in this last year, I think yesterday I had like a 64-ounce Dr. Pepper.
Hey, when you're in that stage of relapse, I don't want to encourage the denial or whatever, but just own that you're there and enjoy that Dr. Pepper.
well, that's what's funny is that that's actually kind of a form of recovery. Sometimes be like, hey, it's not that big a deal. Everyone slips once in a while. But when that starts to turn into not just, it started with like a can of Dr. Pepper, and then it's grown into a 64-ouncer. It's time to get back into that preparation action phase and reestablish the habit.
Can you guys hear Tyler's contemplation? Yeah, that's a good example.
No, there's some contemplation, because I was looking at this the pictures from our last trip to the Wind Rivers that happened a few weeks ago, and I'm like, I'm in good enough shape that I can go knock out 12 miles with a 40-pound pack on my back, and it was not that big of a problem for me. In fact, I was in better shape this year than I was last year. And then I looked at pictures of myself on that trip, and I had my son-in-law say something to my daughter, like a threat, like, because he was eating, like, she was telling him to eat all of his dinner from the backpacking meals. And he's like, if I eat too much, I'm going to end up looking like your dad. I'm like, oh, thanks, bud. Like, welcome to the family. And then I'm looking at those pictures, and I'm like, it's probably time for me to get back off the sauce.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, to wrap this up, Tyler, I just want to say that we're all in these stages of change in different areas of our life. And it's the nature of life. We go through this again and again, and this is how we learn. This is how we grow. And it's where we started this episode. Don't use shame to try to push yourself along, but use love. And what I mean is, love yourself. So what do you want in your life? What do you want to create for yourself, and why? And go get those things because you can. Don't, like Tyler's talking about, Tyler shouldn't go out of contemplation because he thinks he's a fat A now, and now he needs to shift out of that. Rather to think, I love myself. I want to be healthy. And because I want to be healthy and I want to be active with my kids, that's why I'm going to go do these things, because I love myself. So start there, move along these stages of change, get out of denial if you're in it.
Yeah.
And yeah, anything else, Tyler?
No, I think that's great, Brannon. And to utilize the tools that you learn about in recovery. You take that love and anything that leads you to care for yourself more is a good action to take. That's what good habits are formed on, right? But then also to take the love for yourself, to take the growth mindset of process, and then to build in those skills and tools of your own choice, your own accountability, your own support system. You add those things in around you, and it helps you move along those stages of change. And you're going to use that iteration after iteration after iteration. You're going to start with your sexual acting out, then you're going to go into like being able to listen to your partner, then you're going to go into stopping drinking soda, then you're going to, whatever that is, you're going to use the same principles in perpetual motion towards growth for the rest of your life.
Yep.
And that's the way it works. So
awesome, you guys. Go make some change in your life, and we'll see you later.